So thank you very much once again for participate to this roundtable about the Dave Embedded Systems IoT services. First of all, as explained already in other roundtables, I have a brief introduction about our portfolio of solutions. Dave Embedded System is a company that develops system of module solutions based on the recent technologies of ARM and FPGA-based platform, including NXP, Xilinx, ST Microelectronics, and the Texas Instruments system on chip. Starting from this building block, we say we are able to develop hardware solutions, complete electronic hardware assemblies, where all connectors and the size and the features are decided together with the customers. We have know-how in the Wi-Fi and cellular module integration, in the camera module integration, and in the display and touch integration, such as Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and GSM, narrowband IoT, CMOS, LVDS, and MIPI technologies. Together with these capabilities and know-how in the electronic assembly, we have a huge expertise in the mechanical design, in the software design, and in the software integration that we have built along the years. In particular, considering the software design capabilities and know-how, we have developed in these years a deep know-how on Linux, Android board support package, and in the FPGA design and validation. And while in the software integration, we are mainly dealing with HMI, human-machine interface with Qt, Java, Python mainly features, and in the field bus integration of industrial communication protocols like PLCs, Modbus, EtherCAT, IO-Link, master and slave. These services bring us to complete a system, an embedded system, and so with the manufacturing that we have in-house capabilities, we are a solution provider able to provide from the scratch a design and then to bring to production and produce your embedded system. Recently, in the last couple of years, we have added on top of this portfolio other features and other services in the area of Internet of Things 4.0 and in the machine learning area. So we are now able to provide solutions to our customer in the cloud design, so cloud on cloud side and on edge side, in order to create a complete Internet of Things 4.0 solution and to develop and provide AI solution based on the edge. So after this short introduction, I just remember that Dave Embedded System is an Italian company with headquarters in the very northeast of Italy, close to Venice. We have a branch office in Munich. And Uwe is here, is our Mr. Rutgers is our sales representative and responsible for the DACH market. The company is growing. Even in 2020, we grow with 2 digits with respect to 2019. We are a company, an innovative small-medium enterprise with 20 people working here and other 10 people around the world represented us. Going into the detailed request for this call, what Dave is doing for the edge side services. So we discuss about IoT services, and in particular, we start considering the services we are providing at the edge side. Edge side is where we are coming from. So from the development of the hardware that is running on the edge, we are able to write the code, write the software on top of it in order to be able to gather the data from the field, to make it available for data analysis locally, let's say for algorithm, for predictive maintenance, and so on, and then to send this data through daemons to via MQTT or also OPC UA to a cloud with a designer which is closed platform our side. So we support AWS, Azure, IBM Watson, and so on. We are offering also a local data logging and partitioning, in the sense that we are able to store the data locally and to, let's say, define a strategy with customers according to how send this data on the cloud. If send just some macro data after local algorithm analysis, or to send everything once a day or every 2 minutes, in order to define the strategy and the costing, of course, of the strategy. Of course, on the edge side, it's important also to define a strategy for the over-the-air update. So this includes also the watchdog and real-time clock strategy definition, in order to make sure that we have a strategy which avoids at any time that the system on the edge is on stack and you have to move to the field and restore the system. So we define with customer, and we can follow the solution at this level in order to find the best strategy, the best formatting, the best mechanism in order to use Watchdog and other tools for make your system always redundant and reliable, also to the over-the-air updates. Finally, service management and CVE monitoring are also nowadays very important. And together with the secure boot we have discussed yesterday in our embedded design services, are the perfect answer to the problem of security. So we offer customers to develop a strategy for the civil vulnerabilities management, in order to see if there is any vulnerability on your kernel Linux, on your software at the edge level, and prepare to update over the air the system in order to solve this issue. And last but not least, once the OTA are ready on the field, define a strategy in order to make sure that the update is signed properly, and with secure boot you will be sure that only signed and certified software will be running on your edge device. Moving from the edge to the cloud side, okay, we have developed many projects, and we are taking care about this part, which is basically typically used on top of various platforms. So we are not defining or let's say providing solutions with all our own servers and our own hardware. We provide typically solutions on top of standard platforms like the ones here described, and we offer these services typically in a software as a service management, in order to handle the certificates, of course, in order to handle the on-field updates and over-the-air updates, and in order to store the data remotely on the cloud. And the most important part here is to define with customer the costing and the pricing they are able to absorb, and this is really important when we have to define how to send the data from the edge to the cloud. Another part of our services in the IoT market is the graphical user interface design at the cloud level. So of course this is connected to the human machine interface interaction between the system and the operators, and this phase is extremely important and includes management people from the management department and from the designing department. So we are able to provide customers with this support. We have our own designers, we have our own people able to support customer in the decision making process in order to define the dashboard for various access level, so the management, the operators, the services, etc. Define the security level and the access control. Of course, to define the design and the software implementation per each version of the dashboard, and define strategies for the preventive maintenance in order to optimize the data flow analysis. Just remember that all this stuff is integrated in our know-how and capabilities in the machine learning and AI services that we have already described in a previous session on Monday. Okay, then last but definitely not least, I already explained it, something about this topic, and it is the security services. So what is very important is to define your own strategy, and it is important, and we are able to support part of it. So starting from the edge with the secure boot, so we are able to implement a secure boot on our system, so you will be sure that your board will just run signed software, and this signed software is signed with your own keys, and this of course brings to potential problems during the production line. And so for this reason, the second point is very important. So we have a huge experience in deploying of systems where customers even are using external manufacturer, are able to control and to let them produce and manufacture and program the system, even the keys are under their own property. Of course, this is also related to the after-sales services, which is another tricky point. So once you have to rework your boards and you have closed all your ports, and you are using secure boot, you should have problems with the after-sales service, because your system are not accessible from third companies working for you. So we have also developed strategies in this sense, using some hardware keys and hardware tools in order to make possible to these companies to rework the boards. And last but not least, of course, nowadays there are some new regulations coming out from from the laboratories, and one of these is the IEC 62443, and we are working according to this regulation nowadays, and we are open to develop solutions based on the analysis according to this regulation, which is specifically for the embedded systems, so security at the embedded system level. This is a general overview about our products, and now some examples. The first example is in the home automation area, and this is a complete system in the home automation market, starting from a tablet installed in your house, for instance, which is able to communicate with all the domotic system in your house through a gateway, a defined gateway, which is also connected to the cloud, and is able to talk with the Alexa, for instance, cloud, in order to change the configuration of your home system. So Dave Embedded System, in this case, the role of Dave Embedded System was to provide a turnkey solution to its customer. So to provide the hardware developed, so under our embedded design services, to provide this hardware, including the enclosure, including the other stuff, but We are here talking about IoT. So the most important point from this point of view was to create a structure at the cloud level and at the Android level, in this case, and the Linux level with firmware update, a practical and easy solution for end customer to manage the over-the-air updates for diagnostic and for configuration. And another more important, very important point of this discussion was connected to the interface with other clouds, from other vendors, in order to have Alexa, for instance, integrated. But there are also other tools can be integrated for voice recognition and command in the home automation. And the number of pieces per year is significant. So these systems have a huge population, and they will grow every year with these volumes. And the cloud-based solution behind should grow accordingly. So no problems with the dimension. So it should be scalable from this point of view. Another example about our experience is a different one. We are talking about an industrial application, a complete industrial application in the, let's say, in the packaging system market. And this solution is a gateway, basically, is a gateway with some sensors connected in this area. IO-Link is the bus of the, and on this side there is a EtherCAT control. So this gateway is, let me say, just a gateway between a IO-Link sensor to the EtherCAT loop used for control the packaging machine, which is a big one, a very big one. The interesting point is that behind this system used for the automation control, there is the implementation by the embedded system around the gathering of data flow control, for the data flow control, and this data is sent additionally to the data used for the automation control, for monitor and supervise the system and gather data from the field and use this data for improve and learn the process and find new strategies for, as an example, preventive maintenance and AI algorithms. So also, again, in this case, the role of Dave Embedded System was to design completely this system and to develop the software at the edge level, not at the cloud level in this particular case, in order to support the primary function of gateway and to gather the data from the field and send this data to a cloud-based solution. With these two different examples, I have explained, I hope, clearly two examples where the IoT can be implemented in both the IoT market, industrial, and more close to our current lives in the home automation. If you have any question now, feel free. I open this roundtable and I open to answer your question. Thank you for attention. Thank you, Dieter. And if there are any other questions, please don't be shy and, let's say, ask me whatever you want to know. No problem. If you want to send me other other questions via email, no problem, you can do that, and I will answer later in the chat of the embedded world, or let's say via email if you prefer, no problem.
That's fine. Thank you very much. So then I say goodbye, and thank you very much for this interesting meeting.
Thank you very much, Mr. Borner, and we will be for sure in contact later.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye. If there are no other questions, I will just put a tip in the IoT. It's always something that typically people ask me, and it is how to make IoT profitable. And what I typically say is that we have to find in the data a way to get money, and to make sure that the management will accept to do this investment. And what typically happens is that gathering data from the field helps any one of us understanding better how your product works. So typically, engineers can have a better overview on how the system is really used in the field, and from this data they can do a better product in the future. So the first really real return of investment is a better know-how on the product you are selling, and you can probably find that your customer is using differently than you suppose your product, and so you can find that some functionalities are not used, so you can skip to develop them or to maintain them in the future, and vice versa, they are using something and working more on supporting those functionalities. You can provide a better product, and customer will be more happy than before. This is the first level. Then gathering data, a second step should be the preventive maintenance or the AI applied, but this cannot be typically the first step. This should be a second step once you have already understood how your system works. So if you are considering to use IoT on your product, or you are using already IoT on your product, you have to remember that first of all, you have to identify already a profit, let's say, calculating maybe not a direct profit, but an indirect profit from the data and the understanding on how your product is used in the market. And last but not least, then I will conclude. It's important the point of security. Nowadays, if you want to have an IoT system or a connected embedded system, you have to consider security as an important milestone of your project, and you should take into account about this topic at the beginning and not just at the end of your project, because very often the security issues came out during the preliminary analysis, and at that point you can do something, while if you consider the security just at the end, it can be a risk for you, and you can just put some workaround on patches, which are not always a good solution. So if you have any other question, otherwise in few minutes we have to close this session, and I again thank you very much for your attention.